In this video, we are going to learn about the basic concepts of generic programming in Java. Now first, we need to understand what is meant by this generics in Java. So let's see a small introduction. Generics deals with type-safe objects. It provides code stability by detecting bugs at compile time. So this is what generic programming offers. It deals with type-safe objects and it also provides code stability. How is code stability provided? Because the bugs are detected during compilation time itself. Hence, with these 2 points, we'll now state the advantages of generic programming. The first advantage is type safety. We can hold only a single type of object in generics and we cannot store, or it does not allow to store other objects. The first advantage is type safety. The second advantage is typecasting is not required. That is, if we are declaring a variable as integer and you want to store a float value in it, then you might require typecasting for converting it into a float variable. But here, when we go in for generic programming, typecasting concept is not at all required. And the third advantage is it detects the errors at compilation time itself. So compile time checking is the third advantage. Then generic programming provides 3 advantages, namely type safety, typecasting not required, and compile time checking. So with this, let's now move into the concept of generic class. What is meant by a generic class? A class that can refer to any type is known as a generic class. So how do we create a generic class? Now let's see the syntax of creating a generic class, and after that we will look at a small example. Now whenever you want to create a generic class, right, the syntax goes like this. So normally when we create a class, we use the keyword class and then we give the name of the class. If this class that you want to create has to be a generic class, then you have to specify the type parameter within angle brackets. So this type parameter specified within angle brackets indicates that my gen is a generic class. So T stands for type parameter. You may create classes with a single type parameter or multiple type parameters. That depends upon the need of your application. Now I have used only a single type parameter. Now what is done within the class? You are creating an object of T. Like how we say, if we want to declare an integer variable, what will we say? We will say int A. Now here I want to declare an object of type T. Now T behaves like a data type. In generic class, T behaves like a data type. So when I say T object, that means object will be of type T. Now then I have written 2 methods, add method and get method. In the add method, I am having one parameter of type T. And what is being done here is I am just initializing the value. Right? In the get method again is a method which returns a value of type T. So the return value is given as T. So with this, this is how you create a generic class. Now with this basic concept of creating a generic class, let's now move on to seeing an example. Just look at this example, observe it carefully. I'm just going to create a generic class called as area, which is going to give, that is, it is going to take the area of a rectangle as well as a circle. You may use it for finding the area of any kind of an object, right? Just look at the code, what is being done. Here I have created the generic class with only one type parameter. Okay, now let's see what is being done. Now here, if you see, observe very carefully, this area class is the generic class. Okay, and then I have the type parameter T. I am creating the small t of type capital T. Okay, and then what I'm doing in the add method, I'm just assigning the value of T to this dot T. And then I have a get method which returns the value of T. Then I have a get area method, so that we are not going to do anything with that as of now. So just ignore this. Go on to the main method. In the main method, now see, this is where objects are created. Objects are created for the generic class. Which is the generic class? Area. Now here, when you give the t, now here this type parameter is, it is generic, right? Now we are going to see how it can be used. Now I want the rectangle to have values only taking integers into consideration. Similarly, I want to create another object circle which uses the type as double. So I'm using the same generic class and I'm creating two different kind of objects. See, now it says area integer. This is the name of the class. The type parameter now I've given is integer. Okay, and this is the name of the object rectangle. So how do we normally create a class? We say class name equal to, we will say class name, and then we will give the object name equal to, and then we will give new class name within brackets. Right? The same syntax only. You have to, instead of the type parameter, you have to give what class it is going to be. So I say area integer rectangle equal to new area of integer. So rectangle is created, object is created. Next, I am creating the object circle where the type parameter is double. Now I am invoking the add method for the rectangle object. I say rectangle dot add of 10, which means for rectangle t is 10. Then I say circle dot add of 2.5. That means for the object circle t is 2.5. Okay. I have not created two different classes. I am using the same generic class only. This is the point to be noted. Then I have the next println statement, which is invoking get method through the rectangle object. Then again I am invoking the get method through the circle object. What should the get method do? It should return the value of t. So when I invoke get method through the rectangle object, I must get the output as 10. When I invoke the get method through the circle object, that time I must get the output as 2.5. So my first output is 10 and followed by 2.5. So this is how we use generic classes. Now go on to generic method. We can create a generic method that can accept any type of arguments. Scope of arguments is limited to the method where it is declared. And finally, a generic method will allow both static as well as non-static methods. Let's look at a simple example. Where in this example, I'm going to print the array. Okay, array consisting of integers as well as array consisting of characters. So the method that I'm going to use for printing, that method I'm going to declare it as a generic method. So see how it is going to be done. Just we will proceed with the program a little later. First we will see the creation of the static method. Now here I've got the class. Within the class, this is where I'm creating the static method. So which is the static method here? The print array method is the static method. Oh, sorry, is the generic method. Okay, so I have created the print array method as a static method as well as a generic method. So this shows that is the angle bracket that has been given here. In that I have specified the type parameter name as E. Right. So this shows that this print array method is a generic method. And the argument that I have given here is I am taking an array as input, and what I am doing within the method is I am using a simple for loop. I am going to print all the elements. So what is done in the main method? I have to create two different objects. One which was going to store integers, the other one which is going to store characters. So now look at the code. This is where I am creating for integer array. This is where I am creating for character array. So when I invoke the print array method by passing int array, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 will be printed. When I invoke print array by passing character array, GAVATPOINT. All this will be printed. So this is how we use the generic method for doing that is for creating different kinds of methods.